I'm sitting here looking at the dust motes dancing in the shaft of afternoon sunlight that cuts through my window. The grandfather clock in the hallway is ticking. Every single tick sounds like a hammer against an anvil. When the house is this perfectly agonizingly quiet, I am pushing 89 years old now. And I find myself in a very peculiar, very lonely position. I have outlived the woman I love more than my own breath. I have outlived the men I used to drink scotch with on Friday nights. And I have even outlived the people I considered my bitterest enemies. They are all just names carved into granite now. But more importantly than all of that, I have outlived the version of myself that used to give a damn about what people thought of me. When you get out this far, when the calendar pages behind you outnumber the ones in front of you by 1,000,000 to 1, you realize you are standing at the very edge of the cliff. I can look down and see the absolute bottom. And before I go over, before I take that final inevitable step off the ledge, I need to turn around and tell you the people still back there dancing at the party what I actually see. Because from where I am standing, stripped of all the noise and the hustle and the blind ambition, it is terrifyingly clear that you are living a lie. You wake up every single morning, you pour your coffee, you sit in traffic, and you treat your days like they are cheap, like you have an infinite supply of them just sitting securely in the bank. You walk around wrapped in this thick, heavy blanket of arrogance. You think you have time. Let me look you in the eye and give you the hardest truth you will ever hear. You are broke, and we are all going to die. Oh, I know you know that logically. You read the obituaries, you see the news, but you don't feel it. You don't feel the cold, sharp steel of your own mortality resting right against your neck. Because if you actually felt it, if you truly understood that your lease on this earth could be pulled at any given second, you absolutely wouldn't be living the way you are right now. Let me take you back to a Tuesday in October. The year was 1982. The air in Chicago was just starting to get that wet, heavy chill that bites right through your overcoat. I had a business partner named Arthur. We ran a mid-sized architectural firm downtown, right off Michigan Avenue. Arthur was everything I wasn't. He was incredibly sharp. He had this rugged, effortless charm, and he was absolutely ruthless when it came to closing a contract. He was the kind of guy who walked into a boardroom and sucked all the oxygen out of the space. We were sitting in a dimly lit steakhouse on Rush Street, the air thick with the smell of charred ribeye and expensive bourbon. We were clinking glasses, celebrating a massive commercial zoning contract he had just spent 6 months aggressively chasing down. I can still see him perfectly. He was swirling a glass of neat whiskey, the amber liquid catching the low light. He leaned back into the red leather booth, looked me dead in the eyes, and laid out his master plan. He said, "Listen to me, Richard, 7 more years. That is the entire blueprint. I put my head down. I grind out these commercial blocks for 7 more years. I hit the 8-figure mark in the portfolio, then I am completely done. Then I buy that A-frame cabin up in Vermont with the wraparound porch. Then I finally take Sarah on that month-long trip to the French Riviera. Then I actually start living." Arthur had the entire trajectory mapped out on a pristine, metaphorical drafting table. Exactly 11 days later, it was a Thursday afternoon, raining that sideways, miserable Chicago rain. Arthur was standing over a set of blueprints in his office. He reached up to loosen his silk tie, let out a strange, wet cough, and simply collapsed onto the drafting table, knocking over a mug of black coffee. The dark liquid bled slowly, across the white schematic paper. A massive catastrophic stroke. He was 45 years old. He never saw the French Riviera. He never sat on a wraparound porch in Vermont. I stood in the back of a damp, freezing cemetery and watched them lower his mahogany casket into the mud. The real tragedy wasn't just that Arthur died. We all have an expiration date. The absolute unforgivable tragedy was that Arthur spent his entire existence waiting to live, treating his everyday life like a dingy waiting room for a better future that simply never arrived. And do you want to know the coldest, most brutal reality of it all? I had to go into his office 3 days after the funeral to pack up his personal belongings. His leather-bound planner was completely full of black ink appointments for the next 8 months. His desk phone was blinking red with dozens of urgent voicemails. But the world didn't stop because he died. Our firm had a new senior architect sitting in his custom ergonomic chair in less than a month, and the very clients he bled for completely forgot his name within a year. And right now, looking through this lens at your generation, I see millions of Arthurs. You are staring into your bathroom mirrors every morning and telling yourselves the exact same poisonous lie. You say, I'll finally be able to exhale when I get that director title. You say, I'll take that cross-country road trip when the mortgage is paid down and the kids are out of college. You say, I'll bury the hatchet and call my sister once she realizes she was wrong and apologizes first. Listen to a man who has nothing left but echoes. There is no later. There is only this exact fleeting second, right now. And if you are sitting there trading your precious, irreplaceable now for some imaginary later that absolutely isn't guaranteed, you are making the worst, most reckless bet in the history of human gambling. Let's talk about the empire of dirt you are trying to build. I sit here and I watch you people. You are completely, hopelessly obsessed with accumulation. You run yourselves ragged, working yourself into an early grave to buy things you don't genuinely need, using credit money you don't actually have, just to impress strangers and neighbors you don't even like. Look around my room right now. It is 12 feet by 14 feet. I have a single twin bed with a quilt. I have this worn out armchair. And I have a small silver frame photograph of my wife Margaret taken on a windy beach in Cape Cod in 1964. That is my entire universe. 30 years ago, I had this sprawling 5-bedroom colonial estate in Evanston with the manicured hedges. I had the imported German luxury sedans sitting in the heated driveway. I had a basement full of expensive golf clubs and vintage wine that I never had the time to drink. And I am telling you now, looking back with the absolute piercing clarity of the endgame, that it is all meaningless, hollow garbage. I've been to more funerals in the last decade than I can count. And I have never, not once in my entire 89 years on this earth, seen a U-Haul trailer full of flat screen TVs and designer watches following a hearse to the cemetery. Do you know what actually happens to your kingdom when you finally clock out? Your grieving kids are going to be overwhelmed. They are going to hire a total stranger with a heavy-duty truck to come into your pristine house and throw 90% of your precious hard-earned stuff straight into a rusted metal dumpster. The other 10%, they will lay it out on folding tables on a Saturday morning and sell your life's treasures to bargain hunters for faded dollar bills and quarters. That is the grand, pathetic sum total of your materialism. It is nothing but future trash. So why in God's name are you grinding your soul into a fine powder to acquire it? Why are you sitting under fluorescent office lights for 65 hours a week, completely missing the magic of your daughter's childhood just to make the lease payments on a piece of sculpted metal that does nothing but sit idly in rush hour traffic? It is absolute unadulterated madness, but you won't realize it's madness until your knees give out, your hair turns white, and you are sitting in a quiet room exactly where I'm sitting right now. And by then, the store is closed and it is far too late to return the merchandise. So let me tell you a story about what you think winning looks like. It was November of 1991. The grand ballroom of the Palmer House Hotel. I had just won the state's Lifetime Achievement in Commercial Design Award. It was a massive banquet. 500 people, crystal chandeliers, black tie dress code. When they called my name, the entire room erupted. I walked up to that mahogany podium, the spotlight blinding me. The applause was deafening. In that fleeting, intoxicating moment, I felt like an absolute god. I felt like I had beaten the system, like I had finally won the grand game of life. I left the hotel around midnight. I drove my expensive car back to my massive estate in the suburbs. I turned the key in the lock and pushed the heavy oak door open. The house was pitch black. It was completely silent. My wife, Margaret, was fast asleep in the master bedroom. My teenage son and daughter were asleep in their rooms. I walked into the massive, sterile, marble countertop kitchen. I didn't turn on the overhead lights. I just poured myself 2 fingers of scotch, sat alone at the breakfast island in the dark, and stared at this heavy, jagged piece of engraved crystal sitting on the counter. And right then, as the ice cracked in my glass, a horrifying realization washed over me. The applause had stopped. The room of 500 people in tuxedos didn't actually care about Richard the man. They only cared about what my firm could do for their bottom line and the people sleeping just upstairs. The people whose blood ran in my veins, the only people in the universe who actually loved me. I had completely neglected and ignored them for 18 brutal months just to win that cold piece of glass. I had missed my daughter's final piano recital, the one she practiced for every night for a year, because I had to stay late at the firm to redline a set of blueprints. I had missed my 25th wedding anniversary dinner in order to fly to Dallas and close a corporate merger. And for what? Do you want to know the ultimate punchline? That heavy crystal plaque is currently sitting wrapped in old newspaper inside a damp cardboard box in a basement storage unit somewhere. And I couldn't even tell you which box it is. But the memory of Margaret's sad, exhausted eyes when I called from the airport payphone to tell her I wasn't coming home for our anniversary, that memory isn't in a box. That memory's right here, lodged like a piece of shrapnel in my chest. That pain never fades. That stays with you until the monitor goes flat. You walk around believing that your career title is your grand legacy to the world. It is absolutely not. Your career is nothing more than a cold, calculated transaction. You are systematically selling off the finite, golden hours of your life. Hours that you will never ever get back, simply to build bricks into someone else's towering castle. If you drop dead at your desk this afternoon, the HR department will have your job vacancy posted on the internet before the local paper even has time to print your obituary. Do not bow down and worship at the altar of your career. It does not possess a heart. It will not love you back. And it absolutely will not sit by your bedside and hold your fragile hand when the room starts getting dark and the lights finally go out. So, if you strip it all away. If the paper money is just an illusion and the corporate ladder is a trap and all the luxury stuff is just future garbage, what is actually left? I will tell you exactly what is left. The only things you actually get to keep in the end are the things you freely gave away. The depth of the love you gave, the undivided time you gave, the genuine, unscripted human connection. I sit in this faded armchair all day. I don't close my eyes and replay my brilliant boardroom presentations. I don't dream about the stock market peaks. I close my eyes and I replay the simple, quiet Sunday morning standing at the stove making blueberry pancakes with Margaret, the smell of burnt butter in the air. I replay the exact pitch and melody of my daughter's belly laugh when she was 4 years old and chasing a golden retriever through the backyard sprinklers. I replay the freezing night in 1974 when I pulled my car over in a blizzard and helped a stranded stranger push his rusted sedan out of a deep snowbank, and the look of pure human relief on his freezing face. That is the only real wealth that exists on this spinning rock. Everything else is just dust in the wind. So listen to me very carefully. Here's my final challenge to you. Here is the absolute unvarnished strategy for however many days you have left in your account. Number one, you have to take your ego out back and kill it. You walk around so utterly terrified of looking foolish or failing in public. You don't take the massive risk. You don't quit the soul-sucking job to start the bakery you've dreamed of since you were 10. You don't walk across the coffee shop and introduce yourself to the woman with the kind eyes. And why? Because you are paralyzed by the fear of what other people might think of you. Let me liberate you from that prison right now. Nobody is watching you. They are entirely too busy obsessing over their own insecurities to care about yours. You are only the main character in the movie playing inside your own head. To everyone else walking down the street, you are just blurry background noise. Stop letting your pathetic fear of other people's imaginary judgment paralyze you from living a massive, vibrant life. Because I promise you, their judgments and opinions are going to rot in the cold ground right next to their bones. Number two, you need to start practicing the philosophy of the last time. This is an ancient Stoic technique, and if you actually apply it, it will shatter your perspective and change your life forever. Every single time you do something, I don't care how mundane or routine it is, you must pause and remind yourself that one day you will do it for the exact last time. One day you will scoop your sleeping child up into your arms and carry them to bed. And it will be the last time you are physically strong enough to lift them. One day you will lean over and kiss your spouse's forehead before leaving for work. And it will be the last time their skin is warm. One day you will sit on your porch and drink a hot cup of black coffee, and it will be the last cup you ever taste. The terrifying beauty of life is that you never get a notification telling you when that day has arrived. It could be a Tuesday 10 years from now, or it could be this very afternoon. If you can force yourself to live with that heavy, profound knowledge, I promise you will never, ever take a single fragile moment for granted again. You will actually stop and taste the bitterness of the coffee. You will close your eyes and hold on to the embrace of a hug just a few seconds longer, memorizing the feeling of their heartbeat against your chest. And number three, please, wake up. Look at me, I'm 89. The cartilage in my knees is gone. My spine constantly aches like it's made of rusted iron. My vision is cloudy and dim. But you, if you are listening to this, you are holding the golden winning lottery ticket. You have your physical health. You still have the fire of youth in your lungs. And how are you spending this miraculous, irreplaceable gift? You are sitting on a couch, hunched over, mindlessly swiping your thumb across a glowing piece of glass for hours on end. You are actively numbing yourself to the miracle of existence. Stop it. Put the damn machine down. Stand up. Walk outside and actually feel the cold wind hit your face. Look up at the massive, terrifyingly beautiful sky. Pick up the phone and call your mother just to hear the timbre of her voice. Swallow your toxic pride and forgive the person who wronged you. Not because they necessarily deserve your forgiveness, but because you literally do not have the time or the energy to drag around the heavy luggage of resentment and hate anymore. Listen to me, we are all going to die. It is the single solitary guarantee written into our contract from the moment we take our first breath. But the real tragedy of the human condition is that most people, the vast, overwhelming majority of people, never actually take the leap and live. They just passively exist. They play it safe. They stay wrapped in their comfortable, insulated bubbles, and then quietly they just expire. Do not be like my friend Arthur. Do not wait for the phantom 7-year plan to finally permit yourself to be happy. Order the expensive steak and eat the good food on a random Wednesday. Drain the savings account and buy the plane ticket to Rome. Be vulnerable and say I love you first without waiting for them to say it. Because the clock on the wall is relentlessly ticking down. Listen closely. Can you hear it? That isn't just the clock. That is the sound of your one beautiful, incredibly short life steadily running out. Please do not let the glass run empty while you are still waiting in the lobby. My voice is getting weak now. I am so very tired. Turn this off. Go outside and finally live.